You are listening to Nobody Everybody with host Hunter Letendre. Unscripted conversations with New England's small business owners, entrepreneurs, and creatives. Visit realestatewithhunter.com/nobody-everybody. Perfect. Are you ready to get started?
I'm excited.
All right, awesome. So thank you so much for being here today. So for everyone listening, with Kathleen Crocker, you run 603 Line Dance, based out of New Hampshire and Florida as well now, right? Offering classes in Florida.
Yeah.
You want to take a second, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah. So again, my name is Kathleen, but I've been dancing for, oh my gosh, about 30 years now, line dancing, off and on, having children, getting married, all that stuff in between. Took little breaks here and there, but always came back because, it's just once it's in you, it's in you. You just, can't kind of shake it. It's just so much fun. And, I've met so many wonderful people along the way. So in 2017, I actually started my business, and it was actually called Kickin' It Country Line Dance. And then in 2021, I decided to change the name. I wanted to represent New Hampshire more and, just kind of have a logo that represented New Hampshire. And so I changed the name, and yeah, we've been going pretty strong ever since. And about a year and a half ago, I moved to Florida. My husband's job took us down there. So I teach down there now, but we still have a big presence up here, which is great. My best friend, Kim, runs pretty much the show up here in the New England area. And then I'm down in Florida, and I fly back. I try to make it every 6 weeks to 8 weeks, and it doesn't always work out that way. But but I'm excited to be up here this week and running a bunch of classes, and yeah. It's great.
I know I just said this, but that's like the perfect lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like Florida, New Hampshire, just
right?
Teaching classes. That's awesome. Do you still call it 603 Line Dance in Florida?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever get
we kind of call it like 603 South in a way. But,
oh, that's cute.
Yeah, but I don't use it that much like that, but yeah, we still call it 603. And then, once I tell people kind of where it all started, they get it. But yeah, sometimes they're like, well, what does the 603 mean? So it's New Hampshire area code. So
it's, I know I told you this when we first spoke, but my parents met line dancing. So it's all, I've never been other than, I've been to like country Western bars and they kind of have it going on. So it's always been something that's in the back of my mind. I'm like, it's kind of special to me, right? What was it that got you to first try it?
Well, I was about 20 years old, and my friend's mom used to go, and she's like, you girls should come sometime. It's really cool. I'm like, I don't like country music. Yeah. Nope, I do not listen to country music. I like to do my own thing and dance. And I didn't have a dance background or anything. I was a cheerleader and things like that. I ran track and all that in high school and stuff, but I didn't have a dance background. But so I went one night, and honestly, I fell in love right off the bat. And I'm like, I'm going to keep coming back. And my friend decided, nope, this isn't my thing. And I went anyway. I dragged my mom there. I dragged my sister there. They didn't stay. And I would just go by myself. I didn't care. I felt comfortable enough to go on my own. And I met friends, and I danced on a dance team for a while with the instructor there. And it was just one of those things, like I said, you just get the bug in you and you love it. And, it took a little while. We didn't have YouTube back then. We didn't have all this, somebody would put a step sheet out and then send you the music, and then you would just learn from there. We didn't have anywhere to go look online. And, it's so nice now that, there's so many different options and ways to learn these dances now. But back then it wasn't like that. So, once I started, it was just something that I just couldn't stop. So,
have the dances themselves changed much over time, or are you still kind of doing the same thing that it was back when you started?
We still are doing a lot of some of the older dances, but everything's different now. It's really not even that much country anymore. You can dance to anything. You can line dance to anything. And there can be 25 dances to the same song, So it just, what's the most popular and who choreographs what, and everybody, you upload it to a certain site, or there's a few different sites that you can do it, and then they're all over TikTok now and YouTube, and there's all different dances and ways for people to learn them. But yeah, so it's definitely changed and evolved over the years. A lot more intermediate dances, things that are a little bit harder. So we never used to have what's called tags and restarts in dances, and it's just so the dance matches the song perfectly. We never used to have that. We have a lot of those now that all of a sudden you start the dance over in the middle of the song kind of thing, So, it's definitely evolved and changed. But it's fun because it gives you the countryside and gives you more the hip-hop side, which I enjoy that too. You can get a little funky with it. So, yeah.
Are the moves similar between both genres, just like a different pace? Or
Yep. The moves are pretty similar when it's choreographed. a lot of the same types of moves. So once you kind of get used to, what the regular moves are, it does come easier. Usually if you're going to do one thing to the right, you're going to do it back to the left. It's not always that way, but, it can be pretty similar. So once you really start getting used to a lot of the steps and how they're called, it definitely gets a little bit easier. It's not one of those things, though, that you can jump out there and be like, I got this, So I always tell people, don't quit right away, stick to it, because it definitely takes time. Anything that you do, to perfect, it's gonna take you a little while. You got to keep at it. But, like I said, once you really get used to it, you love it and, just can't stop. So it's pretty cool.
How do you balance like the skill level? Because a lot of your classes are just open to the public, right? So do you advertise them as beginner or intermediate? How does that work?
Yeah, so I usually go with beginner and beyond. That kind of gives me that freedom to be able to adjust it to who's in the class, because, sometimes I'll show up to a class and, I'll have all regular dancers. And then all of a sudden a bus pulls up with a bachelorette party, and it's like, okay, we're going to change gears. So anytime I prepare for a night, especially in the bar scene, I always have, multiple dances in my pocket of what I'm going to do. So I might start out with something that's super easy, basic beginner, just so people can feel comfortable enough to get used to it. And then we might move into something a little bit more difficult. But you definitely have to feel out your crowd, especially, when we're at the Goat in Manchester. It's a restaurant, so anybody can kind of just jump in and learn and do it as we go throughout the night. So you never know really what you're going to have. So we definitely try to mix it up and blend it with doing easier dances and then playing some of the harder things. And the way we run that night is typically we'll teach 3 to 4 dances in the night. So we start at 7 with our lessons, and then it's open dancing after that and requests. So we'll always do a couple of beginner dances, a couple of things that are a little bit harder. And as a beginner, you don't want to learn usually more than 2 dances anyway. It's just too tricky. And then, like I said, we do requests and open dancing, and it's all fun, and, everybody's having a blast. And
is there a song request that you get all the time?
It really depends on what's popular right now. But yeah, there's typically always the same songs or dances on the list. And sometimes, Kim and I struggle sometimes when we teach new things and be like, let's try and get this one in here. This one's really popular right now. And everybody kind of goes back to, what they know. But as soon as, something really fun, especially more of that hip hoppy stuff that's coming out now.
Yeah.
We do dance a lot to, Pitbull and stuff like that.
Oh,
and,
I love Pitbull.
Yeah, I do too.
He's underrated.
Right?
Yeah, he totally is.
Totally danceable. But it's cool too, because we can take some of these dances that might go to a country song and put it to something different, or the opposite. You can put it to, as long as the beat is similar, you can pretty much do it to anything. We might do it to a country song and then do it to Aerosmith. So it just it's pretty cool. So
is it mostly partner, or is it like just the whole group dancing individually?
So when we're in the clubs, we don't do much partner stuff. Every once in a while, we'll play something in like Cotton Eye Joe. Yeah. For instance, everybody loves the Cotton Eye Joe. That's probably the one that we would probably get requested the most with people that are brand new. Mm-hmm. The regular people are over it. And
well, the instructions are in the song on that one, so that seems like a good starter.
Yeah, and everybody knows it from, age 5 all the way through, who knows what. But so something like that, you can do a partner dance to it as well as just a regular line dance. So especially in the bar scene, we always get that. Can you please play Cotton Eye Joe? Because, again, everybody knows it. Or like the wobble. The wobble is pretty popular. And there's different ones in different locations. Like down in Florida, the wobble's different from up here. So, yeah, it's just kind of funny how, geographically things are different. So when I come up here, I think, okay, what are we doing? And versus Florida, it's a totally different dance to the same song. So, yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky as to which dance we're doing and where. But we do floor splits, so that's okay. You can do this dance on this side and this dance on this side. So, but we do, when we run our own functions, so Saturday night, I actually, what we do is we rent out a hall. And then we do line dancing, and then we have partner dancing, and some people do swing dancing. So it kind of blends a bunch of different groups together. So it can be a little bit tricky DJing those events because, I have people that have danced country for 40 years that like some of the older stuff. And then, we have the bar scene. People are the younger kids that like some of the new hip hoppy stuff. And then we try to play the partner dances as well. and then people that like to swing dance. So it's kind of, a bunch of balls in the air and trying to keep everybody happy. But usually I think everybody left pretty satisfied the other night. We had a really good turnout, about 160 people.
Oh,
so it was
wow.
pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
do you like dance in front of the room to kind of show people the steps, or is it another way to teach people the dance?
Yeah, so the way that I do it is ideally it's great when we have a stage because I'm pretty short. So it's a little tricky for people to see me, so I have to move about the room often. But certain places we have a stage that I can dance on so they can see. And otherwise I'll just stand at the front of the room and we just pretty much guide them through the steps. It's walk forward, right, left, right, kick, walk back, that kind of thing. And go through the whole dance, and then we do 4 walls of the dance, and then we put it to music, and
That's awesome.
Everybody does pretty well. So it's a lot of counts and beats and, things like that, but everybody does pretty well usually, and, I try to keep it to, what you don't understand, put your hand up, I'll come over to you, let me help you out, and everybody's so good about helping people too, so it's a pretty awesome community of people that we have that are happy to jump in and help anybody. So
what's like the standard demographic? What's the general age? Is it mostly women and a lot of men?
It's mostly women, but it's pretty awesome that we have a good male presence out there too. And the guys, I just love watching them dance. They're such great dancers, and they just have so much fun with it. The ladies tend to be, a little bit more conservative, and the guys are happy to, jump in there. Down in Florida, there's a lot more men that dance. Yeah. And we have bigger clubs down there though, so that's a big part of it. But up here, I'd say the demographic is anywhere between maybe 24 to 60.
Okay.
Yeah. Or 70.
Okay.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
It's really cool. And it really, like I said, it just depends on where we're teaching and what we're doing. So, my Saturday night group that came out to the hall the other night, the demographic is probably 30 to 70, and then, but at the GOAT, it's probably a little bit more, 21 to 50.
Okay.
So
at the GOAT, really that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends where we're at. But it's pretty cool because it brings so many groups of people together and different, like I said, different demographics. Some people love the country side of it. Some people love the hip hop side of it. So we try to give the best of both worlds.
I love that you blend them and bring both in. I grew up on country music, and I'm still a big fan of specifically early 2000s country and like older country. That's my jam.
Yeah.
But I love, like you mentioned, Pitbull. Like that just sounds so much fun.
Yeah.
Did you ever see yourself starting a business?
I didn't, no.
No?
Way back when I danced, I just loved it. I would dance probably 4 or 5 nights a week.
Wow.
And like I said, then got married and had kids, and I would come back and do lessons here and there with different groups. And after I had my youngest, I decided not to work full time anymore. So she's going to be 13 next month. And I had a friend that worked at the Yard at the time, which is now the Backyard Brewery in Manchester. They would run a country night. Midnight Rodeo Bar was the name of it. And I worked the bar there for a while, and I was like, this is really cool. I can go dancing afterwards after I get off shift. And the owner needed somebody to manage that. So Midnight Rodeo owner, not the Yard owner, needed somebody to manage that side of things. So I booked the bands. I did the website. The instructor ended up deciding to go to a different place and teach somewhere else. So he had asked me to teach there. So I taught there. And then at the time it was Club Manch Vegas that we taught at, which is now the GOAT. So I taught there as well. And I was really skeptical about it. And I was like, I can do this. I got this. I can do it. And it just kind of took off from there. And we would run Thursday classes. And once Midnight Rodeo kind of phased out because they were changing it over from the Yard to the Backyard Brewery, I started my own and said, I'm just going to rent halls out. We're going to have some fun because we had nowhere to go anymore. There was nowhere to dance. Clubs don't make it up here as far as on the country scene. They just don't make enough money doing it. So I said, I'm just going to rent out space and start my own thing. So we did line and partner dancing. Once in a while, we'd have a band come in and, you charge $10 a person and just hope that you make enough money to pay for the hall. So in the end, it worked out really well. And, I worked, again, 5 nights a week, sometimes teaching, and we got into different bars and clubs. We do a ton of corporate events. We've done things for a group called Veterans Count that helps give money back to the veterans and things like that. We've done some really cool stuff for them. I just signed a contract with New Hampshire Motor Speedway for the NASCAR event in September.
Congratulations.
That we're going to go up and do some line dancing up there for for everybody when the race is in town. So
Very cool.
yeah, we've done weddings, like cocktail hours at weddings, and
that'd be so
people come
fun.
and hire us to kind of entertain everybody. Taught at corporate events, any country type parties that people run. We've done campgrounds, and we're stretched really thin right now, so hence the reason I fly back and forth. And my other instructor, Kim, my partner, we call her my best friend. She's busy all the time as well. And we both work full time as well, so this isn't our only thing. We do this on the side, but we're lucky to have a great community of friends and people, and it's pretty neat how much it brings people together too. There's all my friends right now up here. A lot of them, other than friends from high school and stuff, I've met through dancing. So it's amazing to see relationships happen. People get married. People become best buddies, or so it's really pretty cool, the community that we have up here with dancing. So
when you first got it started, what did your advertising? Was it like a lot of word of mouth? How did you kind of attract people to it when you were just starting your own business?
Yeah, so a lot of it was word of mouth. Again, we had a good community of people that danced, and then we had nowhere to go anymore. So it was, okay, I'm going to start lessons. We're going to start doing
You're
lessons.
Like, I got it.
Yeah, I'm jumping in. Yeah, there was probably maybe a month or 2 months lapse, if that. So it was social media as well. I've been lucky enough that, people pass on, share everything about the business and stuff, and bring new people all the time. People are like, come on, try it, bring your friends, and so yeah, we've been lucky enough that it's been mostly word of mouth, but trying to get the word out there as much as possible. I'm older, so Instagram and TikTok aren't my jam, but a lot of Facebook, so I try to rely on some of the younger kids to share a lot of that information, and be able to put some of those reels out there and some of those different things. Kim's gotten really good, actually, about creating different reels and stuff like that. So I'm like, I have 3 daughters, and they're 24, 21, and 12, and I'm always like, you need to help me with this TikTok stuff. I don't know enough about this. I need your help. So put it all out there. But so it was really just mostly social media and stuff, trying to get that word out there. And honestly, once we do events, we always branch off into other events after that, which is pretty neat. People will say, I was at your event at this farm, and it was really cool. So, I'm having, birthday party, or, my company wants to run this team building class or something like that. And they'd have us come out and do some of that stuff. So we usually branch off of other events.
That's like the best compliment. That's how you know you've done a good job, right? They're not going to ask you to come do their friend's event or whatever if they didn't have a good job. So that's like how you know that they mean it too.
I know. And it's so great when people come up to you and be like, oh my God, I had the most amazing time. I had so much fun, and especially those people that have never tried it before. And they'll always say, oh, I have 2 left feet. I'm like, I got you. Yeah. I got you. I can help you with that. Don't worry about it.
You're like, we're going to start with Cotton Eye Joe.
Right. It's already choreographed. You don't even have to think about anything. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do, and then people evolve into their own style. They kind of, once they feel comfortable with the dance, they're doing their own thing. They're putting spins and turns and, and when I go to events that I'm not running, I'm like, don't watch me, because I'm going to mess y'all up. I'm going to spin here. I'm going to turn here, but it's really cool. And like I said, you can kind of bring your own style and element into it, or you can just be very vanilla and just do it exactly the way it's choreographed. And that's fine too.
Vanilla's good.
Vanilla's good. Yeah. And, it's just about having fun. That's all it's about. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to look great. And I always tell people, nobody's watching you. They're too busy worried about what they're doing and what the steps are. They're not paying attention to what you're doing, so, don't be shy. Have a good time. Some people, it takes a little liquid courage, but
that's all right. Yeah. Next time it'll be less liquid courage. It's, do your kids do it too?
They did a little bit when we lived up here. So they would come to me. We do, in Salisbury Beach, there's a place called Surfside. So in the summertime, we dance there on Tuesday nights. So they used to always love to come up there and kind of hang out. It's right on the ocean. It's all outside, beautiful spot. They would come and they would do a few dances. But since we moved to Florida, they're coming with me all the time. So I teach at a club down there called The Ranch. And I think it's about a 4,000 square foot dance floor. It's huge. Yeah, we get about 1,000 people on a Wednesday night. And so to meet new people, they decided to start coming dancing. And my middle daughter, it dances probably more than I do. My 21-year-old now, she's dancing all the time down there. Has met a ton of great friends. We have a couple places to dance down there where we live in Southwest Florida. So yeah, she's been dancing up a storm. And it's funny. One of her friends videotaped her and I dancing side by side one night. And they're like, you guys dance so similar. And we're like, yeah, yeah. And we saw the video and we couldn't believe how much we dance almost exactly the same. Like same mannerisms, everything. It's really pretty funny. And we're both little. We're both super short. So we look pretty similar too. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see them really start to get involved in it and love it and wish they started before, earlier with me.
Well, they say actually that, certain traits, of course, and then likes and dislikes are genetic. And one of them is if you enjoy dancing or not is like a gene that can be passed down.
Oh, yeah.
So that's funny. It probably is like genetic on some level.
Yeah, she's definitely, my middle daughter's probably the most like me in that way. My older daughter will dance here and there, but she's really busy with her job and working and stuff. And she doesn't always have as much time. And then the youngest one, she'll come out and just kind of pick and choose. She'll be like, yeah, I'll do that one. Or I don't
She's
like that
12,
one.
right?
She's 12, yeah. So she's still, yeah, she doesn't like to shake her hips or do any of that stuff.
I don't blame her. I didn't when I was 12 either.
She's like, yeah, I'm not doing that, you guys. So she just kind of keeps it very simple. And she likes like church clap and, things which she can kind of kick her legs up and, you know, whatever. So, yeah, it's pretty funny to see.
Do you see yourself more as like an educator or a performer or a business owner?
I see myself probably mostly as a performer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's, I get out there, I do my thing, and, it's just amazing. It's so freeing. It's so nice to just be out there and dance and have fun and be around people that are enjoying it as well.
And teach them something, right? Because you've been doing it so long and you run this business, you obviously have something worth sharing.
Yeah.
Right? So I imagine that feels really good.
Yeah, there's nothing more gratifying than to be up there and teach a dance, especially something that might be a little bit tricky, and have everybody out there, nail it and just to have so much fun with it and love it. And then constantly request it or want to dance it and be like, yeah, this is pretty awesome. And especially like if I choreograph a dance, because I choreograph as well, and Kim does as well. And when we choreograph stuff and then see people dancing it, it's really cool. Before I moved to Florida, actually, there's a dance that I had choreographed, and when I did move down there, they actually already danced it down there before I even arrived there. And I was like, this is really cool that I went to the club and they played that song and they were doing the dance that I choreographed. I was like, that's really awesome.
That, like, it just made its way down there? That's super cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Do you know how? Like, that's social media or the same people
through,
or a little bit of both?
And so it was actually to the song by Morgan Wallen, Dangerous.
Okay.
So one of the instructors down there just happened to see it and picked it up and taught it. Huh. And friends of mine, actually, that were from the area, we live in Cape Coral, Florida, they were down there, went to the ranch one night, and he was teaching it. And they were like, oh, my gosh, we know her. We know the choreographer. We dance with her up north. And then they had told me about it, and we moved down there probably 6 months later, and they still do it down there in the clubs, and
that's
it's pretty
so fun.
Cool.
That's awesome. You're like, I feel like a celebrity.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I don't know about that, but but yeah, it's really cool. So it's pretty gratifying to, like I said, see everybody enjoy it so much and help spread the love of it out there, and everybody's happy, and those endorphins are going when you're dancing, you're having fun, and we work up quite a sweat, and work really hard. Like when we teach the goat and stuff, it's 3 hours nonstop. We don't stop dancing.
I mean, that's got to be a crazy workout, I imagine.
Yeah.
When you say it's, the harder dances, so I am guilty of loving the dancing videos on TikTok. I love them. They're great. Especially when you see people who are doing like the lifts and the spins and like all those crazy kind of moves. Are you teaching that sort of thing or?
No. So I don't teach a lot of partner stuff.
Yep.
I used to up here. I don't tend to do as much down there. It's not as popular, believe it or not, as far as the circle partner. So there's different partner type dances. So you have your swing dancing.
Okay.
And you have like your circle partner. Circle partner is already choreographed. Somebody choreographs a dance to it. And it kind of goes around, they call them perimeter dances, goes around the outside. Where line dancers are in the middle, the perimeter partner go around the outside. So we're trying to bring a little bit more of that down to Florida because the kids do love, there's a couple of them out there and the kids love it, and have fun with it. And so we're trying to bring more, at least to the ranch anyway, to do more of those. But there's not as much down there as there is up here. As far as the swing, they do a country swing. So it's not a choreographed thing. It's more of that TikTok stuff that you're seeing, that you'll see people doing lifts and turns and spins and things like that. So that's more of a country swing. Again, I don't teach that.
Yeah.
It's more,
Well, I imagine
there are
it's
people that
it's
do.
fairly advanced.
It can be, yeah. I mean, I'm used to more of that choreographed East Coast swing, West Coast swing. We do more of that up here, which is, again, there's certain steps that go to it, and then you add different moves, to elaborate on that dance.
Yeah.
Versus the country swing is just kind of, you do whatever you feel. You just kind of swing, turn, lift, it's
like
not
that.
a choreographed thing, but
Yeah.
it's super fun. It's super fun. And my daughter does some of that. She has a partner that she dances with and stuff. And, it's fun. And once in a while they'll grab me and pull me out there. And, yeah, it's kind of fun. But yeah, you never really know where you're going. But,
Yeah.
it's a lot of, I don't do the lifts. Yeah. And you're not, some of the clubs you can't do lifts anyway.
Okay.
You can't
Liability
have them.
kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. So depending upon where you are, certain places allow it and certain don't. But it's pretty cool to see and watch. But you'll see that a lot in some of the different clubs, especially down in Florida. So it is. It's fun. But it is pretty cool that there's such a nice presence with TikTok and putting so much out there. But the tough part sometimes about TikTok is you're only seeing a snippet of that dance.
True.
So you're not really seeing what that full dance is. So the people that choreograph the dances and put them out there, sometimes the steps can be a little bit different, or somebody's teaching somebody else, and then the dance evolves into something that it wasn't actually choreographed that way.
Gotcha. Like
So-
telephone, like the game telephone.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we do see a lot of that as well. And as an instructor, that's probably one of the biggest struggles for me because, I try to, you want to make sure that you're teaching the dance the way it's choreographed, respect for the choreographer that created this dance. So sometimes you'll see different things or different moves in there. And don't get me wrong, everybody has their own style and you're going to make it your own anyway, which is fine as long as it's taught the correct way. But it's exactly like the game of telephone. Like, oh, I like what you're doing, so I'm going to do it that way. And then all of a sudden the dance has changed into this whole other dance that you're like, I don't even know what dance that is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that definitely happens with some of the social media stuff.
I love learning more about how like small businesses run in the background because it's always wildly different to what you expect. I'm curious. So you mentioned the ranch in Florida, the goat in Manchester. How does that work with you partnering with those businesses? Do you sign like a contract with them? Are you just like we're going to be here every night and then people sign up online on like your website? How does that sort of work?
Yeah, so typically the way that it works, at least when we were up here, so Bonfire was probably one of our first clubs. So we're in Bonfire in Manchester, and we've been doing that club for years and years. I think, 6 years at least. And when they first started, I had Kim teach there. It was a good learning experience for her. It got her feet wet because she was getting used to teaching and stuff. So I worked closely with her, and it's fairly small venue. It's not really, really huge. Like we can't fit 60 dancers in there, So it was perfect for her to learn that and stuff. And we've been lucky enough to be able to be there for the past 6 years. We do every Sunday at Bonfire. And it's not a contract. It's just more of an agreement that, here we're going to be here every Sunday. They'll advertise it. We advertise it, just to get dancers in there. You don't need to sign up. Just come as you wish. We usually call it beginner and beyond lessons for the most part, but we try to tailor it to whatever our audience is. Usually we'll teach a couple of beginner dances and then we'll, evolve into something maybe a little bit harder. But we teach the dances multiple weeks in a row. So it's not like you learn it once and then you never, get to learn it again.
Gotcha. So it's like a cycle kind of
It
almost?
is. But we don't do it like a 6-week sign up. We don't do anything like that. We try to keep it open to the public all the time. So we're not limiting anybody. But yeah, we'll do the dances sometimes 2 to 3 weeks in a row. It just depends on how involved the dance is and, how many times they might need to review it, especially if you're only doing it once a week. But where we're in so many different clubs between Bonfire and the Goat, and then we have another place that we do up in Newmarket, New Hampshire called the Rockingham Ballroom, which is a giant space.
I love that. I live near Newmarket.
Oh, do you? Yeah. So we do Tuesday classes up there. And then we also rent the space from them and run some Friday or Saturday night events that we, again, welcome the partner, the swing dancers, not just line dancing, it's just a whole night of dancing. So it depends on where we're working, honestly, if we sign contracts or not. But for the most part, it's, hey, we want you to come in and teach at our club. Here's what we're looking for. And we kind of just go in and say, this is what we do. And they're like, cool, just, run it the way that works for you. And we've been lucky enough to always have it, work out and get a good group usually. And I've learned over the years of trial and error on what works and what doesn't. It's like you can't go in there and teach for 2 hours straight. Nobody wants to hear your voice that long. And, it's too much. So we go in, we teach, 3 to maybe 4 lessons at most. And then we just keep it open dancing and fun.
And how long is that for just the teaching part, like an hour or?
If that.
Okay.
Yeah, it really depends on how involved the dances are. But yeah, we don't even usually take a whole hour. It can take about, 45 minutes or so. And it just depends on the group too.
Yeah.
It depends on how quickly they pick up and how much we need to review or, things like that. But we try to keep it to about 45 minutes so there's plenty of time for open dancing and people can request what they want to hear and what their favorite songs are and, all of that. So, and we have to mold it to because sometimes when people request stuff, they want, the hard stuff, the involved stuff. And we can't play that all the time either because we have beginners that are there as well. And we want everybody to feel like they've gotten the opportunity to be able to dance and have fun and learn some stuff and, be able to get their requests into. So we try to balance it all. And a lot more goes into, DJing, so to say. And I always say, even the other night, I'm like, just so you know, I'm not a DJ. I'm a dance instructor, but I do my best. And, we go in with our setup. And, for a while there, we started out with, one speaker at the front of the room and our iPads. And, and now we've kind of gotten a little bit more of a DJ setup with a soundboard. And
so you bring your whole situation?
Yeah, yeah. Depending upon where we're at, we're lucky enough at the GOAT. We have a sound person there.
Okay, yeah.
And they do all that for us. We just hook up our iPad and, our microphones, and they're great, and they do all that for us. At Bonfire, we kind of run that show a little bit. They have speakers there, and we hook into those. And, like I said, it just depends on where we're at. The ballroom, Rockingham Ballroom, we tend to bring. They do have sound equipment and stuff as well, but we often will bring our own stuff and hook up to it. And then anytime we rent out a hall or space, we bring all our own equipment. Yeah, so we're kind of tied to that booth and teaching and mingling and, saying hi to everybody and trying to get time to chit-chat. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, I got to go. Sorry, I got to go change the song. So, yeah, it's really humbling to see how far this has come and, just to be able to do something that you love and
that's what
bring people together.
Yeah, that's what we're all striving for, right? It's just being able to do something you love. It sounds exhausting though. I mean, just the physical exertion, and then I imagine you have to be like on the whole night, like you just said, talking to people, being the DJ. That's a lot. And how many nights a week are you usually doing it?
So right now, it's not as much for me. I'm probably doing it 1 to 2 nights a week sometimes.
Okay.
When I'm up here and with Kim doing it and what I've done in the past before I moved, it's about 3 to 4 nights a week. Yeah, and it is. It's a lot. It can be draining sometimes, and we both have pretty taxing jobs, our day jobs. So, but it is a good release too. And honestly, we have such a great group of people that we can be silly, we can be funny, we can, make mistakes, and everybody's like, whatever, we're human, So we're lucky enough to have such a great community, and everybody's super appreciative of what we do, and they see how much we put into it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of preparation on what we're going to teach and what dances, and learning the dances and making sure we're comfortable with them, and picking dances that we think everybody's going to like, and some work and some don't. It's trial and error, but it's definitely a lot of preparation and a lot of finding the right music, and again, what works for everybody, because you're never going to make everybody happy all the time, but we certainly try. And it's just being uplifting and positive and supportive, and it's fun though. We're lucky to get to do this. I would love to be able to do it full time. I'm hoping for one day that this will just be my primary job.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And it's pretty cool.
What advice would you have for someone who wants to start a business like this, and not necessarily exactly the same, thing, but something where you're blending that educator, performer, business owner kind of aspects? What advice would you have for them?
Well, it's funny because when I was younger, I was never the child that would like to read in front of the class or stand up in front of a class or ever talk out loud. I was super shy and quiet. And then I never expected to be doing something like this. But once you're comfortable enough with something and you feel confident in what you're doing, you can pretty much do anything, you really just kind of got to, like I said, got to feel comfortable and confident. And as long as you're doing that and feel that this is something that you love to do, and if you can spread that joy to other people, then do it. It's never work when you can do that stuff. And feel good about something and make people feel good about themselves, and just be positive. And you got to know your steps and know your counts. And I've seen people that can dance and be like, oh, I can do that. And then they stand up and teach and they're like, oh, wow, that's not something that ever I could do that. You just, it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of work. And even like with Kim, when she first started, I used to see her all the time at Midnight Rodeo, and she would just kind of sit in the corner. She would go on her own. Her husband didn't enjoy it as much, so he didn't go out, but she would come and she would sit there and she would get up and dance the dances. And I started talking to her one night, right after I first started teaching there. And I'd be like, come on, you know this one, or you can do this one. And then our friendship kind of evolved from there. I ended up starting to teach classes in downtown Boston for a while, and I would go there every week. And she's like, can I go with you sometime? And I was like, yeah, I would love that. And it was in the wintertime, so we hardly had anybody show up for lessons ever. So it was like private lessons for her. So I walked her through everything. I'm like, this is how you do this, and this is how you count, and this is how you, call the steps out. So I started training her pretty much from that moment, and gave her the different classes, and, to get her feet wet a little bit. And I would mentor her, and, it evolved from there. And we have the same lingo, the same talk, the way we call dances, and everybody's a little bit different. And, sometimes I'll say to people, my instruction might not be right for you. So-and-so might be a better instructor for you. And, and that's fine. Not everybody learns the same way. So, and it's just being patient, and, you have to make sure that you're catering to everybody for the most part, and trying to make sure that you're, highlighting their strengths as well, as you're teaching and going through it. But, like I said, if it's something that you love, it's not hard work,
I love that you bring that up, because it's been a little bit of a theme on this show, and I think it's something that's not talked about enough. And it's that if you're going to start a business, if you're going to be your own boss, right, you have to be passionate about what you do. It's not like, oh, it'll be it's great if I'm passionate about it, right? That'll make it more fun. It's never going to work out if you're not passionate about it, right. Period. And it doesn't matter what it is. And I've had, you're among other people who've come on here and said, I never saw myself doing this. It was born out of something that I love to do. Mm-hmm. And then the other one too is, here's my people on my team, and I found them through it, right? With you, they're coming to my lessons. I had someone else, they started coming to her for lessons, right? And it's, you found someone else who had this passion for it, and that's how you build the team that you actually need to succeed. So I love that you bring that up, because I think it's so important, and it's not talked about enough.
Yeah. You definitely have to have the passion behind it, because you're not going to put the blood, sweat, and tears into it if you don't. And
exactly.
I took time away from my family. Like I said, I worked full time for a while there too, and I was teaching at night, and took time away from my girls and my husband. But it built this into something that is so incredible, that I couldn't be more proud of 603. And like I said, I never expected to move. So it was really difficult to make that transition, to move to Florida.
Seems like it's working out though. Well, right?
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to be able to come back and forth.
Yeah.
So it was hard at first, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm missing out on everything that, I'm doing the background stuff, but I'm missing out on all this other stuff and all this fun and all my friends. So now that I have the opportunity, that I'm able to come back and forth, and my day job allows for that, because sometimes I have, every other week I have 3-day weekends too. So I'm able to kind of fly back home and take some time off and do that. But it's just humbling, and I get requests every single day for, different events or fairs or festivals, or, we're doing some really, like I said, some neat stuff with New Hampshire Motor Speedway and some different rodeos we have coming up. And, it's really awesome that, we're able to be a part of all this, and help spread the joy of dancing and line dancing. And it's not just that, I remember when I first started, it was definitely twangy country, people like, you listen to what, but it's so universal now, It's really cool. And and when people come, they're like, oh, I didn't realize that you could do this to anything. I'm like, you can do this to anything.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. This is going to sound really nerdy, but what I think would be really fun is if you did it at like a Renaissance fair.
Yeah.
That would be so fun. Some old, fast-paced medieval theme kind of music.
Right?
That would be a
cool.
blast. There's some really great ones in New England.
Yeah, I know. I was at King Richard's Fair,
King
right?
Richard's,
Yeah,
yep. There's one that's in Acton, Maine. That's pretty good too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're all over
I'm
the place.
familiar
That
with
would be
area,
so
too.
fun.
Yeah, it definitely would. I mean, bring it
Everyone's
on.
already in the dresses and stuff too.
Seriously, I have
So
some friends that get really involved in that and have some of those really, really
Yeah.
neat dresses and costumes and really get involved. I know. I'll have to have them put in a good word for me.
yeah, you can get dressed up too. It'll be perfect.
Be
You can
so
fit
cool.
The whole
Yeah.
theme.
Yeah, and it's funny too because we even put line dancing to Christian music. We have large churches that
Yeah.
say, "Hey, can you come out and teach some line dancing for us?" And we'll put it to Christian-based music and stuff too. So yeah, we can pretty much do it to anything. So it's really, we're really lucky to, like I said, be able to do what we love, and it's not a job when you're having fun,
Yeah.
and you get to socialize the whole time, and
Yeah.
lots of exercise, that's for sure.
Yeah, you probably don't have to go to the gym, right? It's,
I do go to the gym, but yes, I definitely get a lot of cardio out of it, But our bodies can be very sore sometimes, and
I
depending upon
bet,
different
yeah.
flooring that we're dancing on, and
Oh.
like the cement floors are really hard. They do a number on your body when you're dancing for multiple hours versus a floating dance floor. I'm lucky down at the ranch we have this amazing dance floor down there, and my body doesn't hurt as much as
Interesting.
if you're dancing outside. It's tough on your body sometimes.
Do you dance in cowboy boots or sneakers?
Both.
Both?
It depends where I'm at. When I dance
fit
in
the
Florida,
theme, right? Yeah.
when I dance in Florida and stuff at the ranch, I wear boots. I haven't worn boots for years. When I first started, I wore boots, and then it was just always dance shoes or jazz shoes, ballroom shoes sometimes, depending upon what I was doing. And then when I moved to Florida, I was like, nobody wears dance sneakers down here. So I'm going back to boots. Yeah, I'm going back to boots. And like I said, I'm just under 5 feet. So anything with a little heel that can give me a little bit of a lift makes me feel a little bit better.
I have the opposite problem. I'm like, flats, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything that can give me a little bit of height, like any sneakers I wear are like little platform sneakers. Because, if I can, my license says I'm 5 feet, so it must be true. Right?
Are you musical? Like, would you consider yourself have an aptitude for music, or is it more the physical dance side and then curation of playlists?
I'm not musical. I've never played an instrument in my life, but I can hear the beat of music.
Yeah.
And that definitely helps. I love to dance. I mean, I can't even go to the food store without dancing or being in the car or going over a dance. And then now in my life, I think, if you go to a wedding, I'm like, I don't know if I know how to regular dance anymore. I'm so used to turning everything into a line dance, but no, I definitely can. But I'm more of that. I like more of that hip hop style. So when I dance, I tend to do more hip hop moves, and yeah.
You'll have to send me the links to some of your social media or videos or anything that you have, so I can put them in the bio, because I'm having a hard time picturing country line dancing to hip hop.
Oh,
So you know what I mean?
gosh,
As I want
yeah.
to see, because it
I
sounds
definitely
awesome.
will.
I love to dance too. It sounds so much. I'm terrible, but love to do it.
I
Doesn't
bet
matter.
you're not. I bet you're not. We're our own worst critics, right?
Well, exactly. And again, I don't care. Who's watching? Nobody.
Right. The funny thing is especially at the ranch, we're always on video. So there's tons of videos out there from on the ranch website and stuff, just of us, because we demo our dances first, and then we teach it, and then everybody does it together.
So they're recording every single time, or oh
Yep.
wow,
Every single time we're doing a new dance, or introducing a new dance that we're going to teach. The funny thing is I don't watch them.
yeah.
I don't like to see myself dance. So I'll share it, and I share it on our 603 line dance page and all that stuff, but I don't typically watch it because, again, you're your own worst critic. So.
Yeah, that's funny. It's like that's typical for artists, right? Whatever it is, people say they don't like to look back at their own work. I don't like to listen back episodes of the podcast more than
Really?
once.
Yeah.
I'm an author. I don't like to read my own book back, right? It's just because, again, you're your own worst critic, and then I think sometimes it's just moving on to the next thing, right?
Yep.
I've got more dances to teach. I got more art to create, whatever that medium is for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really funny. So people be like, "Oh, look at your video." I'm like, "No, thank you.
Good. I'm good.
No, I'm all set." No, because I'm just going to pick myself apart and think, "Why did I do that? Why did I move my arms like that? Why did I, So yeah, I try to stay away from watching that, and because I just want to enjoy it and have fun in the
Yeah.
moment. So I feel like if I watch it, I'm going to think about it the next time I do it and be like, oh, I don't want to move my arms like that. Or I don't want to, I just feel the music and do my thing. I'm in my own world.
Yeah. Well, and nobody, like you said, nobody's even going to understand if you made a mistake, right? Because you're here to teach them. They don't know, you know?
Well, for the most part, yeah.
For the most part.
It just depends. It just
You're like, oh, I fell off the stage. I meant to.
Yeah, that's the tough part. Yeah.
Has that happened?
Thank God, no.
Okay.
But that's kind of hard to hide sometimes. That I meant to do that. I just want to make sure you guys will catch me. Yeah, but I'm always looking behind me because I am on stage a lot, whether it's up here or down there. So yeah, I'm always worried that I'm going to trip and fall or fall off the stage. Knocking on wood there. Thank God that has never happened to me. I've never fallen during a lesson. I've probably fallen a couple of times while I've been dancing, but it's been so long I don't remember. I'm hoping I didn't just jinx myself.
Falling is the worst. I fell in the grocery store a couple weeks ago, and it still haunts me.
I bet.
I wasn't even dancing. I don't have any excuse. Just slipped.
And it hurts as you get older too. It's like, oh my gosh. And it's just more your ego, I guess, that it hurts and you hope that nobody saw you. But yeah, it's definitely, even like when I'm dancing, when I spin or something and I wobble or, my boot slips or, whatever. And it's like, oops, don't watch me.
Yeah. I bet people almost, I don't think that would be that's not going to be a deterrent for anyone, right? It's like, oh, you're a human. You're not,
Right.
I think if anything, it would, to an extent, right, of course, make people feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I definitely think so, especially when you're on stage and teaching and, you're like, oh, wait, no, that's this move. I made the wrong step or something. They were like, okay, she is human. All right. Yeah. She does make mistakes.
Like a dance robot.
Yeah. We're not going to be perfect all the time. We're not always on. Nobody is, right? So we definitely make mistakes. We'll call it out. We'll laugh about it. You just got to make a joke about it, and I remember, when I would first make a mistake, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. I feel so foolish. And half the time, nobody would even notice, It was just, again, me knowing that I'm off my game. There's always your moments that you get up there and something doesn't feel right, or you feel like you're off your game and you just push yourself through it. And I would get off the stage and think, oh, that was terrible. And people are like, what are you talking about? I didn't even notice anything. And I'm like, it's all in how you feel and your vibe, So I always try to go out there and have fun and be positive and be uplifting and, just have a great time. And, there's nothing better than getting to do what you love and being up there dancing. And I was never a performer like that. I was always on team stuff, whether it was cheerleading or something like that. And so being up there by myself was definitely something that was out of my element. But like I said, once I felt confident with it, it's nothing I could, whether I'm standing in front of 1,200 people at the ranch or 40 people up here on stage or, a group of people I've never met before at a bachelorette party. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I'm pretty social and like to talk. And, hopefully I can make people feel pretty comfortable. And
it becomes like second nature, right? I mean, I know just, I'm primarily in real estate, right? And it's funny because I'll go meet strangers all day long, right? And I can say they want to list their house, right? Here's my listing presentation. I know it like the back of my hand. I can do it in my sleep. But for me, actually, I've worked with several friends of friends. I struggle with those appointments. It's like I've got in my head before I'm even there. I'm like, how will these guys think I'm dumb because I can't do my appointment as good as I can for strangers. Yeah. Do you find that? Is it easier to work in front of strangers than people you know?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Because, they don't know you. They don't know your presence. They don't know if you make a mistake or, it's, people that have never danced before versus, your advanced dancers. So yeah, you're definitely going to feel more intimidated, I guess, against people that you feel like would judge you a little bit more than.
And you care about their opinion more than you care about strangers' opinions.
Right. Absolutely. And, they, like you said, when you go in there, they don't know if I made a mistake or not. And hopefully I wouldn't be, right? But yeah, and it's just kind of like, I can kind of fix that and cover that up a little bit, if for some reason I did make a mistake. But you do feel more critiqued, I guess, when you're But honestly, for me, because I'm so used to having the same people that have been with us and have stayed with us for so many years and have followed us, and I have so many amazing supporters that are so happy to spread the love of line dancing and talk about 603 line dance. And, they make such a big deal when I come back up here when I'm not here for so long. It's so, so cool. I'm thankful for our community that continues to promote it and always are on my side. And, between Kim and I, and they know, like I said, how hard we work at this and trying to bring new events. And so everybody is still, have a place to dance up here. And there's a lot of classes that run up here now, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
And we try to support each other, support other instructors. And, like I said, I might not work for you, but somebody else might work for you, or, depending upon what area you live in and what events you want to go to. So we try to run a bunch of events so in different areas, so it kind of brings, people around New England together. So the event I ran on Saturday night was in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. Even though we're out of New Hampshire, we're running it in Tewksbury, so that helps the Massachusetts dynamic to come in, that demographic to come in and dance with us. And so they don't have to travel too far. And then we run it up on the seacoast up by Newmarket, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So that brings, again, other people in. And we have other instructors that come teach with us at our events as well. So there's another group called Dance the Line out of the seacoast area. They'll come to Rockingham and run a night with us sometimes. Or we have another instructor that was previously from New England that lives in Nashville now. When she comes up here, she'll teach with us as well. So it's really cool because we can kind of, bring everybody together. We all share the same students for the most part within the New England area. So, you just want to make it welcoming. And hopefully, sometimes the dances are different, even though it's the same song. So, again, we'll do a floor split. You do your dance over here, we'll do ours over here. And it's just about everybody having fun,
So you mentioned earlier, in an ideal scenario, right, you'll be doing it full time, expanding. What does that look like? Does it look like more instructors, a central location? What does that look like?
I wouldn't say a central location. I think that's really hard. It's funny because sometimes I'll get messages like, oh, we'd love to rent out your venue. I'm like, we don't have a venue. We come to you when we're traveling. Our little circus, comes around. But so yeah, adding more instructors would be great. I'm very, very particular. I have to train them. It's just something that, when you work so hard to build a business, you want to make sure you have, the absolute cream of the crop that are out there representing you and the way that I would do things. And, I'm lucky enough, like I said, to have Kim. She's my best friend. She bounces everything off of me. We collaborate all the time. And, her vision is my vision's her vision, so it's really awesome to have somebody that you completely trust. And that's what I need. And I do have a great group of people that works with us, because sometimes when we do events, we have this little team that comes with us because we have to do a lot of demo, or we have a giant event that we have 500 people. One instructor with 500 people that have never danced before is really tricky. So we try to bring people with us to help us out. So ideally, yes, maybe adding some more instructors and being able to travel more and bring it to other locations. Kim is actually going to be moving to South Carolina, but she's still going to be traveling up here as a contractor for her job. So hopefully that's the ideal situation, I should say. That's not quite happened yet, but her and I will both continue to travel back up here and hopefully add another instructor at least up in this area to continue our regular classes. And Kim, like I said, will be up here so many days a week anyway, still running some classes, and then I'll be coming back and forth and then still have a presence in Florida. So, I do I'm starting to do a lot more private events down there and stuff. So word of mouth is getting around down there, with 603 and hopefully renting out some space down there like we do up here and run events, which is really fun. It's nice when we can, kind of rent a hall. And I just always hope that I can make the rent. Like I get enough people to cover the rent, and I'm always pleasantly surprised with how many show up. We've been lucky enough that, our classes are always pretty full. And, when I first started, sometimes I had days that I had 12 people. And then we would run another event and have a class on a Tuesday at a new location. We had 200, so it's really pretty cool. And we want to be, ideally I want to be the premier place in this area to be able to, or company that gets hired for events, so it's more of like evolving into more of a production type company,
Okay.
And,
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of my goal. I always say, like I said, we're not DJs, but we kind of are. Like, I wouldn't go do your wedding or anything. Like, I'm not that, but I can DJ. We can DJ our own events, you know. But sometimes it's nice when we have somebody that does that for us, and we don't have to worry about that side of it, because it's a lot of work and coordination of
Absolutely.
DJing and teaching and talking and, finding music, because sometimes, I might not have the song that they're looking for, that dance, and I don't know what it is, and I have to look it up, and I'm trying to find the song, especially now that I'm not up here as often, and some of the dances are different up here than they are down in Florida. So when I come up here like Saturday night and somebody asks for something, I'm like, I don't know the song to that. What is that? And I'm looking it up quickly and downloading it so I can play it next, So it's definitely a lot of coordination. And, sometimes people forget how the dance starts. So you're running out there, starting the dance, and then jumping back to put on the next song.
And you have all your equipment and everything too, right? That you have to bring in and pack out.
Yep. It's a lot of work. And,
yeah.
It's funny. People say, oh, you should go into the DJ business. I'm like, nope. Nope.
I'm good.
I don't want to do that all the time. So sometimes I just prefer to walk in with my iPad and my microphone, hook it up, and, do that. And it's pretty awesome because we work with a lot of bands too. So, we've been lucky enough to get promoted through bands that say, hey, you want us to come to your venue? Well, we can also bring line dance instructors with us.
Yeah.
So we've done that in downtown Boston, and, we've done it at plenty of other events, campgrounds and things like that, where they hire the band and they say, we can bring some line dances with us too, and you can do lessons. So we get advertised a lot through bands too. So that's another outlet that we use, that the bands advertise for us, and we help advertise for them as well. When somebody asks us about, any bands for functions or events, and, we'll pass their information along too. So it's pretty nice when you have, like I said, it's all one big community in a way.
I was just going to say that. Exactly. You've built a strong community, it sounds like. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, we've definitely worked really hard to have a good relationship with everybody. So
if somebody wants to find you, what is your website?
So our website is 603linedance.com.
Perfect. I'll link that in the description.
Thank you. And there's if you click on like the line dance tab, there's also a bunch of line dances there. You can click on it. It takes you right to videos and step sheets and things like that. So you can learn some of the line dances, and it says whether they're beginner or intermediate. So there's that on there. There's also, some videos and different things, and it gives all the information of where our classes are and our lessons. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram. As much as I update, I don't update as much as I should. But Facebook is always up to date as well, 603 Line Dance. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to put all those links in the bio. Do you have anything special that's coming up soon, or just, I know you do, your classes sound like they're pretty regular, right? You're always at the goat on these days, etc.
Yeah. So we do Sundays at Bonfire. Always check our sites though, just in case. Sometimes they have events that run that we might have to cancel, or holidays sometimes that we might not be there. But so yeah, Sundays at Bonfire. We do Mondays and Wednesday nights at the Goat. And then on Tuesdays, we're at the Rockingham Ballroom for lessons as well. So, and then we do run it, like I said, we run our own events on Friday and Saturday nights. We're at the Rockingham Ballroom. Sometimes we're at the Tewksbury Elks. And we always have some different events that might pop up. But May 24th, we're actually going to be, there's a rodeo that's coming up at the New Hampshire Speedway.
Oh.
So, yeah, really cool. There'll be a rodeo that starts at noon. There'll be a bunch of bands playing. Ayla Brown's going to be there. Fred Ellsworth with Freddie and the Freeloaders band's going to be playing. We're running a dance contest, so I hope everybody will come out for that. So 603 is running a line dance contest.
Very cool.
There's a really cool belt buckle that's up for grabs for the winner, and some cool stuff. So there will be some advertising on some of the country radio stations and stuff for that. But that is on May 24th. So, yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. Tickets, I think, are already on sale, but we'll be sharing a bunch of information out about that as well. And you'll find information on our Facebook pages as well as our website. So, yeah, that's going to be really fun.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Really enjoyed learning more about, I just like to learn more about industries that I know nothing really about.
Yeah. Right? And who knew this existed, right? Unless you're in this world, sometimes you don't know enough about it.
Exactly. Well, you'd think, oh, dancing lessons, and then now what? you know?
Yeah.
So I love that. I'm going to force my fiance to come with me.
You definitely should come to a class.
Yeah.
You'll love it.
Yeah, I know I'll love it. I don't know if he will, but that's okay.
He can sit and watch. Sometimes we have our watchers, and there's nothing wrong with that. My husband, we met line dancing, but he's never danced.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not a dancer.
So he was just like a one-off that he went, or?
Well, his sister used to go.
Okay.
So he would just pop in and say hello to her and her friends. And it was at a hall, so it was just really informal. And I was kind of like, oh, who's that? Yeah, so anyway, that's how we met. And it's funny because, he's always known me to do this. So he's always been super supportive of all of it. And, he's right there if I have events to run the door for me or, whatever we need. And, this has always, been something I've always done. And he wouldn't expect anything different. So I'm always like, I'm going dancing, or the middle of a conversation, I'd be like, oh, this is my favorite dance. I got to go, and take off and whatever. So, but yeah, so we met line dancing, but yeah, he does not dance. So it's pretty
All
funny.
opposites attract, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. He dances, but not very well. Yeah. Hopefully he won't be mad at me for that comment. I don't think he will. But
it's the truth, right?
Right. No, he'd say it out loud too. So I'm the dancer of the family. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.